So, via completely legitimate means and definitely not cheats, I have a lot of materials to use the new upgrading and augmenting system for the relics from Safi'Jiiva. So I thought I'd do a bit of a tutorial on how exactly they work. First thing I want to do, and I did mention this in my previous guide that I thought it would be very likely, but you can indeed use the old augments. It works exactly the same as it would before. You can these augments are completely independent. The system is not related at all. You can put whatever you like in. And it doesn't. The two systems don't have any influence on each other whatsoever. So just to get that out of the way. Anyway, regarding the actual upgrades, let's get into it. Just a quick rundown of what skills are available. There are stat boosting abilities, attack, affinity, element/status, and defense, which increase the corresponding stat. There is a slot ability, which varies between levels and gives you either a level 1, 2, 3, or 4 slot, which these do not stack, unfortunately. There is set bonus abilities. Each one gives a single point of a set bonus. So, for example, Teostra's Master's Touch set bonus, you cannot get it from the weapon on its own. You get a single point, so it counts as a single point of armor towards it. That way you only need 2 pieces of Teostra in your set to get Master's Touch. However, it doesn't give you the full set bonus. And there are a bunch of set bonuses. I haven't got them all, but maybe if you want, let me know and I'll list them all out at some point. And there are a few weapon-specific ones too. So, for example, Gunlance can upgrade or modify the type of shelling it performs. Kinsects can change their Kinsect bonus. There are ammo capacity for heavy bowgun. There are sort of modifiers, recoil down, deviation down, that kind of thing. There are hunting horn songs. You can change which songs your hunting horn has based on an ability that has different tiers with different songs. And there might be a couple others that I'm forgetting. But yeah, so if there are major weapon aspects that sort of get locked in by the weapon, there's a good chance that you'll have the ability to change them via one of these awakened abilities. Okay, hopefully that's all of them and we'll get back to it. So here's a fresh weapon right off the bat. And as you can see, until next manifestation underneath the weapon, 8 points. These Dracolite shards and Dracolite pieces, which you've been getting from fighting Safi'Jiiva, you'll notice that as I increase the bar, it's very similar to sort of armor spheres and upgrading armor. It slowly but surely fills up the bar. So for example, if I spend 7 of the 1 points, I don't get anything. Put in that last point, get to level 8, and there we go. And so I get the ability to add one of these to my weapon. You can see the little green symbol, add. There are other ones, there's a add and upgrade. But if I add this to the weapon, you can see I'm getting a buff. I'm going from 1296 to 1306 raw. I'll talk about the exact values that these all represent in a bit, but I just want to show you how the system works generally speaking. The stars on the side are an indication of how good the skill itself is, but I wouldn't worry too much about them just yet. So let's just put attack on Set. We could overwrite Rathalos Essence, but we'll just put that on the side for now. And as you can see, until next manifestation still says 8. Now, if I put in one of these pure Dracolites, you can see the total potential on the left, 100 points. That's just an indication of how many points you're putting in for this upgrade chain. It doesn't actually serve any other purpose. The stored potential is underneath the until next manifestation. These are the two things you're interested in. The last little bit of UI is the awakened level, which as you can see says 4 at the moment. Let's just get up to another level. Now what you'll notice is, currently, I have 4 stars worth of skills on my weapon, and if, for example, I change Rathalos Essence to Velkhana Divinity, and you can only overwrite the bonus skills, by the way, you can't have more than one of these on a weapon, unfortunately, even if they're of different types. But if I overwrite it from 3 to 4, so that I have 5 stars in total, you'll see my Awaken level goes up to 5. And so that's what the Awaken level is, and that's basically all of the UI. Explained. Hopefully that's all made sense so far. You can see the awakened abilities that you've got on the right. So let's put in some more Dracolite. Let's put in another skill. Now you can see I have 2 options here. One says upgrade ability and one says add. So don't just build up stored potential and hope to get attack 5 straight away. Your best bet is to start from a low attack, 1, 2 or 3 or something, and to slowly upgrade it over time. Alternatively, I'm going to put defense upgrade on my set just to show you something. I wouldn't really recommend this, it's kind of garbage. But 40 defense, and now you can see until next manifestation says 15 points. That's what the number of points required to upgrade your weapon depends almost, I think, entirely. Nothing to do with stored potential or anything like that. It's entirely based on awaken level. So the more stars worth of skills you have on your weapon, the more points it'll take to manifest the next. And so let's just get up to 15. And just to prove to you that it isn't like, you know, after 4 upgrades it goes up. Let's just drop this defense 4. Let's swap it with an attack 1. So that we go back down to 6 stars. And you can see our until next manifestation has gone back down to 8 points. So as far as I can tell, it's purely 100% based on how many, what your awaken level is, how many stars you have worth of skills on your weapon. Sorry about that, I had to cut. I'm just trying to find where the threshold increases to 15. It seems to be at level 7, so I just want to demonstrate that by downgrading to level 6 and proving that it goes back down. There we go, a level 1 skill. I'll replace one of my level 2 skills. I'll go back down to level 6, and you can see until next manifestation 8. And now if we go back up to awaken level 7, it should go back up to 15. And we can prove this by just replacing or upgrading this ability. And back to 15. Perfect. So now we know where exactly the awaken level threshold is for moving up to 15 points. I should probably talk about stored potential. So if you upgrade and you don't like any of the skills that you've gotten, and actually I like this very much, so it's a shame, but no big deal. If you don't like any of the skills you've gotten, you can store potential. I've heard that by using the weapons against Safi'Jiiva or just generally, you can also increase stored potential. I haven't gotten around to testing that yet. I'd like to get like exact numbers before I test, but I'm sure it's true. But yeah, you can see my stored potential is now at 1. And that's that final UI in the bottom right. And again, let's say I don't like any of these, I can store potential. What storing potential does is it means that when you do upgrade, you have a better chance of getting a better skill, essentially. That's what we're getting. Stack 3, a level 4 star slot upgrade 2, so we're getting better ones. Another interesting thing I've noticed is that with smaller weapons like dual blades, I couldn't get status 2 or 3 or anything like that to drop. But bigger weapons, I have noticed it. And with smaller weapons like dual blades, I found that status 4 gave only 10 points. So there's definitely some difference in how it's applied to different weapons. But I'll hopefully test that at some later point in this video. For now, let's upgrade. And so now you can see my stored potential has gone back down to 0. And that is because I've purchased a skill, and so now if I want to build up my stored potential, I have to start again from scratch. I'll show you what happens if you go over. You can see my total potential is 20 at the bottom here. However, I only needed 15 points to manifest. If I upgrade this, and then let's say I store potential or something, the remaining 5 points will just go into the bar. And you can actually do this with multiple level ups in a row, so I'll just demonstrate. With 50 points, which should give me several upgrades. And I'll just continually store for now. And you can see it keeps going up and it keeps letting me choose. So don't worry about losing points by overspending, it doesn't happen. So I'll move on to a weapon that I've already tested out. The Safi'Jiiva dual blades. As you can see, even at awaken level 26, which is the maximum as far as I can tell, the cost for upgrade still takes 15 points. So it doesn't seem to go any higher than that. Now you might be wondering what this this sort of shining star is. Every weapon can have a single level 6 skill. And what it does is it's just a stronger version of the previous skills, basically. It's like a further upgrade, and it seems to be quite substantial compared to the other ones. Again, only a single one can have it. So, as you can see when I press the icon, some abilities may be weakened. What this is saying, or what this is demonstrating, is that you can even see by the bottom right hand side of my screen, my status effect up 6 is the middle one, and they don't all have to be the same, by the way. It just happens to be what I spec this weapon for. But if I upgrade this, then the middle one goes down back to level 5. And that's because you can only have a single skill at level 6 at a time. Now to demonstrate the differences between the weapons, I'm just going to show you that there is no lower level status upgrade for dual blades, even though you saw it with Greatsword in our testing. So I'm just going to keep storing potential until we get some status upgrades. And what you'll notice is that the smallest increment of change, 10 units of status, the game won't allow you to have any other increment, comes with status level 4, and there is nothing less than that for dual blades. Hopefully it comes up soon, otherwise I'll have to repeat this take, please. Don't make me cut. Oh, I'll quickly show you sharpness upgrade 5 while I'm here. I believe these are the same between weapons, they all seem to be the same. But sharpness upgrade 5 gives you a small amount of purple at the front. Actually, a reasonable chunk of purple. I'll do specifics of all the stats of the various upgrades in a bit, but for now I'm just sort of giving you a general overview. Oh, another thing worth noting about this system is you can see I've already put 5 points into this upgrade. If I back out of the weapon and then come back into it, you can see it stores that. That's even if I leave the menu. It's still at 10 points. So yeah, it is persistent. So don't worry about losing points if you back out of the system. Oh, thank God. Okay, we finally got status effect up to proc at a stored potential of 23. But yeah, you can see my asleep on this weapon is 90, and if I upgrade status attack 4, it goes up to 100. And this is the first status that we've seen. There hasn't been 1, 2, or 3 pop up anywhere, and it can't go down up by less than 10. So it definitely seems like the effects are dependent on the weapon class itself, and it doesn't seem to be different for like blast weapons, even though they have more base status. Because I had the exact same thing happen with blast. Status effect 4 gave me 10 points. So yeah, keep that in mind. The stats are different, and I will go into them in more detail. However, something else interesting I want to talk about quickly. So you can see this weapon here has Teostra technique on it. And this is something I was saying well before the update came out. But yeah, I kept telling people I'm fairly certain it's going to be a single point and not the actual skill itself. So as you can see, I have 1 point of Teostra technique, and you can see my greatsword is highlighted there. And if I were to equip some Teostra armor, you can see I now have Teostra technique. I have Master Touch on my set with 3 pieces of armor. Unfortunately, the set bonus on the weapon does not give you the entire set bonus. It only counts as a single piece of armor. So there was a lot of theory crafting going on about just having Master's Touch on every set with these weapons, or, you know, but keep this in mind. It's only a single piece of armor. Still opens up a ton of options, but it's maybe slightly less powerful than people were hoping for. Okay, so I have gotten a bunch of junk skills on my... Well, not junk skills, but a bunch of skills that won't affect the stats of my weapon. A bunch of abilities that won't make any difference, so that I can now test the stat increases from the various skills. So let's just pop, I don't know. Suppose an infinity increase of 2. You can see it gives us 9% from 5, so it gives us an increase of 4%. Affinity increase 1, I'll hopefully be able to demonstrate. Affinity increase 1 takes us from 5% to 7%. So 2% for level 1, and 4% for level 2. I've talked about it in the previous video, how these sort of stack additively, and I showed that off with the status weapon at the start, but I'll just prove that to you here. We have Affinity 1 on our weapon. If we add Affinity 2, it should give us 4% and take us to 11%. And that's indeed what it does. And if instead we overwrite Affinity 1, we go up by 4%. So these do stack additively. Keep that in mind. We can now upgrade our Affinity to increase to level 3. We're at 11%. Upgrading from 2 to 3 gives us an extra 2%. So as you can see, level 2 gave us 4, level 3 is giving us 6. And here we go, Affinity increase 4. We're currently at 13%. Increasing from level 3 to level 4 gives us another 2%, exactly as you would expect. So currently it's been 2% per level, and I'll just demonstrate the rest. This is the same between weapons, by the way, I should mention. Affinity and attack seem to be the same between weapons. Status seems to vary slightly differently. As far as I can tell, sharpness behaves exactly the same. And I haven't tested defense, but who's augmenting for defense, let's be honest. Took a while, but we've got to Affinity increase 5, and again, from 4 to 5 gives us an extra 2% affinity. And finally, we have Affinity level 6. Now the interesting thing here is going from 5 to 6 doesn't give us a 2% increase in affinity, it gives us a 5% increase in affinity. Generally speaking, this is how the final upgrade works. The level 6 upgrade tends to be a cut above the rest, a pretty substantial chunk. So I'm now going to find the values of attack. I've got a greatsword that has no attack augments on it already. We're currently at 1296 raw, with the multiplier of 4.8 giving us a 270 true raw, as I talked about in my previous video. And so we'll see what each level of attack gives us. Oh, while I've got you, status effect level 4, you can see I have a status 1 on my weapon, and status 4 gives us 40 status, whereas before it was giving us 10 for dual blades. So that's an indication that status stacks differently for greatsword than it does dual blades, and that's going to be general for most weapons, I believe. Finally managed to get attack 1 to spawn, and so as you can see we go up from 1296 to 1306, which represents a true raw of 272, an increase of 2 true raw, just as we'd sort of expect. We can now upgrade that to level 2, and that takes us from 1306 to 1315, which is 274 true raw. There are some rounding errors here, by the way. Here we go, 1315 to 1325, and let me just make sure. 4.8, that is 276 true raw. We now have attack increase level 4, 1325 to 1334 divided by 4.8, and that gives us 278. So again, another 2 true raw increase. Attack increase 5 takes us from 1334 to 1339. 279 true raw. So it kind of bucks the trend there by being one shorter than I would expect it to be. And I'm not entirely sure why that's the case, to be completely honest with you. So 1339 with attack increase 5. I think the real question is, what if we had attack increase 4 and attack increase 1? Oh, thank God! Okay. It took me like fucking 20 minutes of cycling, but I found attack increase level 1. So we noted that attack increase level 5 gave us 1339, whereas 4 and 1 gives us 1344. So it does seem to be a particular curiosity regarding attack increase 5 that it only gives you 9 true raw for greatsword. I haven't tested this for other weapons, but I presume it's the same. Well, 20 cycles later, and we've managed to get attack increase 6 to spawn, hopefully via the magic of editing. That will seem like barely any time at all. It takes us to 1363, which is 284 true raw. So, the first 4 levels gave us 2 points each, up to a max of 278. We then got an increase of 1 from attack level 5 to 279, and then the final point gave us another 5 true raw on top of that. So it's basically the same as Affinity, except for some reason the 5th upgrade only gave us 1 true raw rather than a bonus of 2, which is a bit bizarre, but anyway, I'm not going to question it. Regarding the other stats, status varies from weapon to weapon. With dual blades, I found that the lowest status you could get was status level 4, which gave 10 points. 5 then gave 20 points, and 6 I believe gave 40, but I should probably test that. Greatsword is a bit different though. You can see there is level 1 which gave us 10 points, level 2 is taking us from 310 to 320. I'll finish off the testing for Greatsword. I'm not going to repeat it for every single weapon class, but you get the idea. And there we go, level 3 gives us 30. You can also see that it stacks additively. We're at 330, if we take level 2 we go up to 350, sort of exactly as you'd expect. Oh, I guess it's worth noting, slot upgrade 3 gives you a 3 slot, and is a 5-star skill, and as far as I can tell, the level 6 version of that skill will give you a 4 slot. The level 5 upgrade takes us up to 350, so yep, that's another 10 element added on top of that. And so now we'll see what the level 6 status gives us. That didn't take very long. So we're at 350, and this takes us up to 370. So 20 extra status from going from 5 to 6. So each level gives us 10 points, except for the 6th level, which gives us 20. Keep in mind that any skill can be overwritten with any other skill at any time for no actual loss, except for the fact that if you want the skill back in the future, you'll have to roll for it again. You don't get the materials back, however, you also don't suffer any long-term consequences. There isn't any kind of creep in terms of like the resources it takes to upgrade that would mean that this is a bad thing. It makes no difference whether you're upgrading a weapon you've already upgraded 1,000 times or a weapon that's completely fresh. The only thing that affects how many points it takes to upgrade is the current number of stars you have in total. And I think I've basically covered everything, barring finding the exact stats values for every single weapon. However, that would require me to do more Safi, and I've been having really bad internet lately, so I haven't really bothered doing it yet. But yeah, I think this kind of gives you the gist of everything. I haven't listed out all of the set bonuses that you can get. I do have like a couple hours worth of raw footage of just me cycling through these upgrades. And every single set bonus has probably appeared in there somewhere along the line, so if you want me to just upload the raw footage unlisted, let me know and I'll do that. But aside from that, I'm looking for ways to sort of save scum this and abuse it. I haven't started looking yet. I'm going to look after this, so keep an eye out for a video on that if I find anything. Hopefully something like reloading saves and then doing a quest that increases your potential. I don't know. I haven't thought it through yet completely. But yeah, if you're looking for a way to save when you're Dracolite, then yeah, feel free to sub and keep an eye out for a video on that in the future. Hopefully I can get one going. But otherwise, I hope I've covered everything. If there's anything in particular I've missed that you wanted to see, please do let me know and I'll try and get to it in some sort of follow-up. But yeah, I think that's basically it. Yeah, have a lovely day. Take it easy and good luck with your upgrades. May the RNG gods bless you. Bye-bye.